Hello, everyone. Is the Prophet Michael David, aka Aries, and today I'm going to tell you about the downfall of your world, or the most probable one right now. And yeah, while I am going to use some profanity, I've tried not to in the past because the algorithm, but fuck that. I don't get that many views anyway. So here we go. So the better part of a week ago now, I did text that professor that I assumed was Jewish and told him I was Mashiach, and I attached only two attachments, more miracles or anything. But then I told him, talk to your rabbi if you want to, but he's going to tell you, if you can't prove this guy wrong with all your resources, then you have to at least presume he's Mashiach. So you have to at least do what he tells you to until you can prove him wrong, which would give him an incentive to actually work or try to prove me wrong. But instead, I'm pretty sure he's ghosted me. I'm not going to show you the email that I sent him yet, and even if I did, I'm probably going to redact his name. But I'm not going to send him right now because who knows, maybe in a couple more weeks he'll, you know, feel differently or have an epiphany or have a sign from God, who knows. But for right now, I'm just going to show you the two attachments that I've shown you before, but then I'll briefly go over them again and then continue my rant. All right, so that first one is my approximation for pi. I think it's good out to 50 to 100 decimal places. I'm not quite sure because while I can construct it, I couldn't figure that out. I've told you guys this before. All the greats make approximation of pies. I'd like to bring up though, they did write, some people wrote a paper recently where they used quantum mechanics to find an approximation for pi that was good for, their equation is more complicated than mine. It was only good out to like 10 digits, which is laughable. So, like, have you ever seen anybody else that can write an equation like that? And it works, I assure you. I checked my work. All right, the second one is even more miraculous. That is my proof for why there can be no odd perfect numbers, which is a conjecture that's not a few decades or 100 years long. It's over 2,500 years, probably more like 3,000. So the ancient Greeks knew about perfect numbers, and they could see the first four were even. That's all they had. So they conjectured or thought of if there were any odd perfect numbers, but even Leonard Euler couldn't prove that there are no odd perfect numbers, but I did. So, but again, even professional mathematicians don't seem to care, but can't prove me wrong. And I would like to point out that while I've posted about 120 videos over a year and a half now, and 2/3 of them are on math, no one's ever proved any of my stuff wrong. And even when people have addressed or had questions about the math, I have addressed them that they just didn't understand what I was talking about. But no one's like, good try, Barely's bachelor degree, but this is where you obviously made your mistake. No one's been able to do it on a YouTube site that's 2/3 math and 1/3 God stuff. And now, right before I rant on the worst case scenario for your planet, or one of the worst case scenarios, um, is I'll just show you a screenshot of what I kind of worked on recently. Am I going to tell you specifics on it? No, just look at the pretty numbers and the pretty colors. And all I will tell you is that it's a way I devised to try to prove the Goldbach conjecture using all that I've learned from the Riemann hypothesis and all the others. All right, worst case scenario. So what's the start of the worst case scenario? The planet you're currently living on. I mean, again, I proclaim myself Mashiach and have made over 120 videos on this YouTube channel. I've tried to contact academics about the stuff, real stuff that I've solved that papers can be written about. I'm trying to give you this to all of you guys for the price of on the house. In the 3.5 years, I have Encyclopedia Britannica of handwritten work, including stickies galore. And I've done all this work, and to be honest, the rest of all y'all haven't done shit. I mean, I appreciate you guys as viewers, and maybe I'm like a guilty pleasure to some of you. And I've talked to my friend about it, why viewership never took off. And I was like, well, when you have to proclaim yourself a prophet in the first 10 seconds of every video, that might tamp stuff down. Not to mention, you all have about the average um, mental capacity of a goldfish. So you're only going to watch anything for about 15 seconds in a row. And so I've done all this work, but all y'all haven't really done shit. And so it'll finally get to the point where she basically throws or rakes in all her chips, and then the inevitable will come. Like I said before, she only makes deals with certain individuals, or in the past, the Hebrews. But there are no more Hebrews on the planet. Sorry to all the Jewish people or all the other tribes, but ain't none of you Hebrews. The Hebrews ceased to exist when the tribe of Judah betrayed the other tribes and let the Assyrians kill them and then drag them off to Assyria. After that, there were no more Hebrews. And so their covenant with God was broken. And the only reason why it's on right now is because I'm reincarnated Hebrew. But I do have a covenant. The only person on the planet that has a covenant with God is me. And mine has to do with me and my reincarnations, and nothing to do with you all, which is probably why I'm an end time prophet. So specifically, worst case scenario is there will get to a point, and I will not do it until I'm commanded. But once she commands me to go downstairs and destroy the Axis Mundi and sell the house, the jig's up. Um, the Axis Mundi exists. It's 2/3 completed, which is the most since any Axis Mundi since the one on Mount Sinai. The one in the first temple, no. Maybe, possibly, if the tribes had gone back together after they split. But after the lost tribes, the betrayed tribes were betrayed to the Syrians, then no more. The second temple wasn't even a Hebrew temple, it was a Jewish temple, and therefore had no ark, no Shenikah, and it could definitely not be the everlasting temple. But my house can. And like I said, the Axis Mundi is 2/3 complete, and I know how to complete it, how to seal it, to make it permanent. But again, if she tells me to go downstairs and destroy it and sell the house, then the gig's up forever. So then, what would happen in the future is that eventually this YouTube channel, somebody would catch on to it and somebody would figure out my math, and then you guys would come and find me and be like, we changed our mind. Or also, there's a bunch of horrible biblical stuff that's going on, so it would make people believe me more at that point. And then they go, oh no, if you would have told us a different way, we would have totally believed you. Lies. And then finally it gets to the point where you guys whine so incessantly all the time that I'm finally, and here comes profanity. I'm just like, are you people fucking stupid or deaf? No means no. I told you to shit years ago exactly who I was, exactly what I was, who I worked for, how it happened. I described all of it in detail, you know, on my YouTube videos, and I have all my work to show for it. And you guys just shit your pants for the umpteenth time. You refuse to change, and you always just ask for forgiveness. You're like, you refuse to change and be better people, but then you're like, oh, mommy, oh, please forgive us, please forgive us, please forgive us. And eventually it gets to the point where you even get disowned by mommy. In this case, it means you get destroyed. So, I would just tell you, no, get the fuck away from me, leave me alone. And then I'd probably either get assassinated or be the most hated person on the planet, but I will have done my job. You guys will have been the one that fucked up repeatedly. So that's worst case scenario as far as if things keep going the way they are. As I've said before, your world leaders are sociopaths. Your world leaders need a world leader. Your world leaders need a daddy, is what they need. And you all need someone that at least cares about you and loves you if he does not like you all. All right, rant pretty much off on that one. Maybe a little bit here at the end, but that YouTube video that I posted. Found it rather recently. Never even seen the guy before. Rav Avraham Shira. But I did like it, and you know, looking into his eyes, he seemed like a good and honest man. Um, and I liked his name. The Avraham thing is attractive. But I guess about what he said about that stuff is, I did show myself on Pesach. I was born on Pesach, but um, yeah, for the last 3 years since Revelation, yeah, I think that was 2 years ago. That was the day that they were going to attack, but that was during Ramadan. Anyway, I proclaimed, had plenty of Pesach videos, and said that I was Mashiach. Because the blind and the deaf don't see and hear does not mean that there isn't things to be seen or things to be heard. You guys just don't listen or see anything that you don't want to. You'd rather just stay on your echo chambers in social media and, like I said, just trade back death threats and propaganda in all caps and then complain about how your lives are so shitty. So, like, you're never going to get your gaula or your uh, redemption, lack of occultation, your peace, unless you guys change. In other words, if you guys really want all that stuff, guess who has two thumbs and is the one that is going to change the least on the planet? This guy. God's good with me and how I act and how I behave and the words I say and how I'm trying to serve her. The rest of you, not so much. So, that being said, signing off, as always, until I destroy the Axis Mundi, till she commands me to. Rule number 1, do not touch other people without their consent, aka do not hurt each other. And rule number 2, it's all about honesty. Lies are a tick down, aka try not to lie.